Hey guys, how are you guys doing? Welcome back to my channel. Taylor here. So I know this video is a little bit different. I am not sitting down. Usually I sit down in like all my videos and I'm kind of getting like tired of sitting down, so I figured I would like stand up for this video. But that means that since I'm standing up, I'm probably going to be moving around a lot more, and yeah, so I don't know, we'll just see, but I'm tired of sitting. So on today's video, I am going to be going over the top 5 things that I do to save money to allow me to travel so much. Now, this is a question I've gotten time and time again over the years is, how do I afford to travel so much when I'm working at a place like this, or doing something like this, or my hourly rate is this, or whatever, blah, blah. And I've also been asked a lot recently with my travel channel and things like that of, how do you afford to travel? I can't manage to save the money to travel and things like that. So here are the top 5 things that I do that allow me to travel. Now, I only condensed this video down to 5, but if you guys want to see more than 5, if you guys want to see everything that I do, or, you know, different things like that, then let me know, comment below, so that way I know that you guys want to see it and I can create those videos as well. So I want to go over my top 5 things that I do to save money. That way I can help you guys out as well and hopefully help you guys save for your next trip. So let's get into it. Number one is pretty simple and pretty self-explanatory. Save. Now, I know that that is easier said than done. I am terrible when it comes to saving money or anything else like that. I'm one of those people where as soon as I get paid, I want to go and buy something, to go and spend money, to go and do whatever. I know, like that's me. And then there are also a lot of people that have a lot of bills, that have a lot of things that they have to pay for. You have children, you have this and that. I understand that. However, once you get into the habit of saving, it's a lot easier to do once you start. And that can be anything. That could just be $5, $10 every week. That's better than nothing, right? Like, I know it doesn't seem like a lot, and when you put in your first $5, you're like, well, it's gonna be forever before I can go to Europe. Well, yeah, but you're $5 closer than you were when you had nothing. So there's that. One of the things that I will suggest, and one of the things that did definitely help me with saving, is to automate it. So whenever I used to get a regular paycheck, way back in the day, it's been several years since I gotten like regular paychecks, but whenever I used to get regular paychecks, what I would do is have it automated from the, I would have my direct deposit automated, so a portion of my check would go into my savings account automatically. Therefore, I never had to deal with it. I never had to see it. Like, if I checked my checking account, that was the amount of money that I had, right? And then everything that was in my savings account, boom, like that's just savings. It can be savings for an emergency, it can be savings for a trip, things like that. I wouldn't suggest doing, I know that there's a lot of different apps out there that like take the pennies from the money that you use and put it in savings, or once a week, or every time you get paid, like they automatically save it in their like weird third-party bank or something, and blah blah, and it gives you like a portfolio and everything. All of that can, especially for someone like me, it gives me just a lot of anxiety, and it's too much. Like there's too much happening. I don't want to see a portfolio of my savings. I don't want to see how much in 50 years I'll have. I don't want to see all of that. I would just rather not see it. Like, because if I see it, then, you know, I'll think about it. Like, I'm one of those people where it's like, if I have $100 in my checking account and I have $100 in my savings account, I have $200, right? That's wrong. That's not the way you should think about it. And until I got out of that mindset of thinking that my savings account money was money to spend, then it made it so much easier for me to save money and travel. So I would definitely suggest automating it. Just if you get direct deposit, automatically have money put into your savings account, just period. If you get a paycheck, if you like to save money in your house or whatever, then do it every time you get paid. Before you do anything else, just do every time. Just choose an amount that you know you can afford to do every single time. Because what'll happen is the second that you stop depositing that amount, and like 1 week you may get paid a little bit less, or 1 week you have something else that you need to pay for or whatever, then you're gonna put less in that savings account, and then the next week you're gonna put less in that savings account, and you're not going to make up for the amount, the difference. So decide if you can afford to put $10 in there, no matter what, every week, put $10 in there. If you can afford to put 20, 30, whatever it is that you know you can afford to put in there while continuing to pay for your own bills, then do that. It can be as little as $5, but until you start saving, you're never going to be going anywhere. I know that that's one of those like cliche sort of tips and everything, but it's the truth. If you don't save anything, you're not going to be able to go anywhere. So save. Like, period. Just save. My recommendation is to automate it. Also, a savings we need to consider is budgeting. Budgeting is so important, and it definitely helps with savings. If you budget how much you're going to put in your savings account and you budget what you're going to spend every week, then you will be able to afford to travel a lot more. I'm not saying not to do fun things. I am of the mindset, that's why I do this. I am of the mindset of where I was not born to just work and pay bills. Like no, I don't think anybody should live that way. That's awful. Like who wants to just work and then pay bills every week, you know? So buy stuff, give yourself money in the budget for extra things. You know, if you, rather than trying to save up for a trip that you can go on next month or something, like there's no reason to rush it. Plan ahead and do it slowly, and then budget all of the money all along the way. Decide on a certain amount of money for eating out every week. Decide on a certain amount of money for going to the movies, for you know, paying your bills and everything. Budget how much you're going to spend on everything and stick to it. And I promise you, if you stick to the budget, and trust me, it's hard, I know. If you stick to the budget and do everything that you've budgeted and put the money in your savings account, you will be able to go on so many trips, and so many trips a lot sooner, rather than having to wait for so long to go, you know? And once you start doing it, the easier and easier it gets. It's always difficult to start these things out, but once you start doing it, it's so much easier. Tip number 2, plan ahead. Now, this one is self-explanatory and goes without saying as well. However, I am more so referring to a lot of young adults, because I know that I am, I guess kind of, I don't know if I could consider myself a young adult anymore. I don't think so. But when I was young, I was spontaneous. I still am spontaneous now, and I wanted to like, oh, well, I want to go here. Let's just, you know, empty my checking account and go here because I saw like a deal and I saw this like great travel thing and blah, blah, and it was like happening next week, and so I had to immediately take off work and do all these things. That's wrong. Don't do it that way. Plan ahead. And when you start looking into going places and looking up trip ideas and everything, you're going to come across all these coupons and savings, and oh, buy it right now and you'll be able to save 15% on this trip, and then you'll have to go next week, or we have a last minute deal to go here next week, blah, blah. No, whenever you're planning a trip, you need to ensure that the loss of money you have from the trip is only for the experience of the trip, not from work, not from having to get last minute plane tickets to go here and there and everywhere, not from gas. What a lot of people tend to do is they tend to compartmentalize and separate, because I did it too. We tend to compartmentalize and separate each part of the trip as if it's not a part of the expense. Meaning, if I see a trip, like I saw a trip on Groupon last night to go to like Dominican Republic, right? And it said, because it was on Groupon, it said that it was going to be sometime this next month. So sometime between the 5th of September and the 20th or whatever, or 25th of September. Well, that's not really a lot of time for me to save, right? Like that's next month. That's not far away. And then on top of that, that means that whenever I pay for it, I'm going to find out exactly when the trip is, meaning that I'm going to have to take that time off of work. That's a hit to how much money I make, because I won't be working that week. I'm not going to make any money when I go. So that's a hit to my work. Then I'm not going to be able to save that much money up until then. So I'm going to have to, unless I have enough savings now, I'm going to have to go into my checking or whatever. And there's much more to take into consideration for the trip than just the cost of the trip. And a lot of those trips, they weren't flying out of DFW. So then on top of that, if I wanted to go to the Dominican Republic and I wanted to go next month or whatever, then I was going to have to get a plane ticket to go to Florida, to go to to go to New York, to go to LA, wherever it's flying out from, because I know for a fact it wasn't flying out of DFW. That's an extra cost. So a lot of people I know, whenever they're planning a trip, they'll be like, oh, well, I got this great trip to the Dominican Republic. Oh, okay, where's it leaving out from? Oh, it's leaving out from Miami. But you live in Iowa. How? Oh, well, I'm just gonna buy a ticket, like look for last minute deals and everything, but it's a great trip and look how much I spent and blah, blah. It's like, well, you don't know how much you spent because you still have to buy a plane ticket from Iowa to Miami, and from Miami back to Iowa whenever you come back. So that is still a part of the cost of your trip. That's not two separate things. Like that cost of going to Miami and flying back, that's still a part of your trip. So you have no idea how much your trip is going to cost yet, because you haven't bought that. Like you have to buy everything. And last minute trip ideas are fantastic and fun if you have the money for it. But if you can't afford to lose a week off of work so quickly, if you can't afford to pay for the entire trip right then, unless you're like leasing it out or paying it, using it on credit or whatever, then it's not affordable to you. So always try to make sure that trips are affordable to you. Save money. I always recommend to have enough money saved when you're going on a trip and everything that accounts for the loss of income you're gonna have. Unless you're like salaried, and if you're salaried and you still get paid for going on a trip, like you have enough PTO, then fantastic. This doesn't necessarily apply to you. But if you're not salaried, if you're hourly, you don't have PTO, whatever, then always make sure that the amount of money that you have sitting in your checking account will account for the loss of money that when you come back. So when you come back, you will have enough money, basically as if you didn't miss a week of work, right? As if you didn't skip a step. Which goes back to, you know, tip number 1 of savings and whatnot and budgeting. That's a big part of it, is budgeting on your trip and deciding how much you're going to spend on your trip. Because when you plan ahead, it allows you to stick more to your budget. If you do everything at the last minute and you compartmentalize these different parts of the trip and don't consider it a part of the trip, then you're over budget and you're gonna be broke quicker and not realize it, because you want to consider the flight from your home airport to the airport you need to fly out of a different trip and a different thing. No, it's part of the same trip. Tip number 3, flight research and email alerts. So this is such a huge thing. I am always looking for trips and places to go and things like that, like all the time. I honestly probably am on Skyscanner and Google Flights more than I am Facebook, to be honest. So use a couple of the different websites. If you know where you want to go, then go to Google Flights and set up an email alert, and then plan about when you want to go to it. Or choose a couple different dates when you think that you might want to go. Set up email alerts for them. Wait till it gets a little bit cheaper. Wait till prices might drop. Bam, do that. You know, set up notifications for getaway packages, for flights, for hotels, for things like that. Set up those separate email notifications. I recommend creating like a different email address that's just for that, so that way you're not overloaded with spam and it's not going into your personal email address. Just create a separate email address of my getaway trip or my vacation stuff, whatever, you know, just at gmail.com, at whatever. Just create another email address and then just have all of these alerts and whatnot of planning for trips. And they're fantastic to do, because I've gotten a lot of cheaper hotel options, and I've gotten a lot of cheap flights from just not even necessarily looking for a trip, but setting up different notifications for different trips, or for being alerted of cheap flight deals and things like that, and then I've been able to get cheap flights. Now, I'm not suggesting to use some of the paid ones. There are paid versions out there of different ones that you can use, and I personally have never used a paid travel option like that, so I don't know. I can't recommend that to you, but I have used a lot of the free ones. I have used a lot of the ones where they just notify you based off trips that you're already looking at and things like that, and that's kind of what I prefer, because as much as I love like a random trip, I have certain places that I want to go and certain time frames that I want to go to them and everything, so I don't really care to see a bunch of notifications of going to places that I've already been or don't want to go. So I definitely recommend setting them up from like Google Flights, from Skyscanner, from Expedia, whatever. I'll link them down below, of just different places and places that you want to go to and trips that you want to take. And then that way you can watch when the price will fluctuate. If you know when that prices get cheaper around this time of the year and that time of the year and everything, then it will be a lot easier for you to snag a really great deal, especially if it's being emailed to you and you can get it like right then. So definitely set up flight alerts as soon as you decide that you want to go on a trip. If you know that a year from now you want to go to Barbados, then look up flights to Barbados now. Set up the flight alert now, and then maybe in like a month from now, that flight will be extremely cheaper than it was now. And hey, since you started saving, you already have a month of savings. You might be able to afford it depending on how much money you were putting in your savings account, you know? And then it might just be, you might have only spent the money that you've already saved for that trip on that flight, and then you have the rest of the year to save up for doing stuff there because you've already bought the flight. You know, that getting there is one of the main sort of things. So that's and then you know, you can set up like an alert for hotels and maybe get transport and things like that. So those are always plan ahead in that manner. Tip number four is going to be online work, part-time and online work. This is fantastic. It baffles me that in 2018, people still go into offices and people still, you know, they need money, and they have a computer, but all they're doing with their computer is, you know, on Twitter and on Facebook. It's baffling that people aren't using their computers and their phones as a way to make money. There are so many different online services to where you can make money for doing very little. There's different options for making money doing surveys. There's transcribing. There's like various, I think, kind of like telemarketing-ish gigs or whatever. But a lot of those might not make necessarily as much money. If you know how to do certain things, like if you know how to build a website, if you know how to graphic design, if you know how to make stuff or whatever, then you've got stuff like Fiverr and Upwork and maybe even like Etsy for making things. And then there's a lot of just like customer service online jobs that pay like 10, 12, whatever dollars an hour that you can do as well. And I'll link a bunch of those down below. This video isn't necessarily about me going into detail of how to use those or all the ones that I've used, but if you guys would like to see a video about that, then let me know and I can make a video just on the apps and different online programs that I've used to make money. But the great thing about these is that you can work from home while doing them. And so if you have kids, if you have a family, if you need to be home for whatever reason, then you can do this while you're at home. Or even, depending on how your job is, you can even do it at work. And a lot of them are very simple, straightforward, just, you know, the same sort of tasks over and over again. And so it's kind of easy to just get into a routine of doing it, which is fantastic. And the best thing about this is that these also are a lot of things that just require an internet connection, that just require you to be able to be online, which means that if you are on vacation, you can also do the same work as well. Some of these sites and websites, you get paid rather immediately. Like I know for Upwork and for Fiverr, you get paid as soon as the job's done of whatever it is that they are needing. So if you're doing something like a graphic design, or if you're doing something like adding something to their website or editing a video or whatever, then you could maybe sit down for a couple of hours and do that and then get paid immediately for it as soon as the seller is happy with it or whatever. So I mean, that's also a way to, while you're traveling, to make money and use that money as well. And one of the things that I definitely recommend is if you do something like this, then if you want to save money quicker, if you already make enough money from your current full-time whatever job that you have to afford your lifestyle, then if you do something like this, put all of it into your savings. Put all of this into your trip fund. It will allow you to save so much quicker, and all of that money will be going towards that. What a lot of people do is they'll get this extra income and get an extra check during the week or whatever, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh my god, it's time to go shopping. Well, no, you got that so that you could save for your trip. So again, by priorities and budgeting and savings, if you can afford your lifestyle with the current job that you have, then take every last cent that you make from doing any part-time gigs and put it in your savings, put it in your travel fund. And I promise you, you will be so happy with doing it that way, because then when you're able to go on your trip a heck of a lot sooner, you're going to have so much more fun. And you're going to have a ton of money to use on that trip as well without taking away from any of your bills or any of your household income or anything else like that. My fifth travel tip, which is going to be kind of self-explanatory again, but it's important for me to say, and it's important for you all to hear, is just do it. It is so difficult to do anything that you never start, you know? And that's the problem. A lot of people, we just don't start doing it, and that's our problem. It was my problem for a long time as well. I just didn't want to save. I didn't think that it was going to be important doing anything. I figured that I was never going to make that trip. I figured I was never going to be able to go to these places, and I figured that the money could be better used on something else, or it seemed to just kind of take forever to do. But the thing is that I eventually had to start. And when I started doing it, it was difficult, but it became easier and easier. There were times where I knew that I might have needed money for something, but it wasn't pressing. It wasn't a need so much as a want. and I could wait until I got paid again. So I didn't touch my savings and I didn't do this. And doing that was fantastic. However, it took me just starting. I had to start and decide that I wanted to travel and that I wanted to do these things and save money. And it's so difficult for people to just do. A lot of people, you know, you just sit there and you're like, well, those are easy things to do and I'll do it, but I'll do it next week. I'll do it tomorrow. No, do it now. Like, if there's nothing preventing you from starting right now, which there's nothing preventing you from opening up a savings account. There's nothing preventing you from taking $5 and putting it in your piggy bank or whatever. There's nothing preventing you from doing these things except for yourself. And that's an issue. And if you truly want to travel, and if you truly want to save money in general, it doesn't necessarily have to be just for traveling, but if you truly want to save money in general and become financially responsible and live your life where you're not constantly stressed about finances and stuff, then one of the things you have to do is you have to start saving and you have to start budgeting. And honestly, the best advice that I or anybody can give you is to just start. If you never start, you'll never get there. Period. And I also decided, just because I was feeling nice and I kind of thought about it, to give you guys one little extra tip. And that extra tip is going to be open up points accounts with every single place that you go to and use, and airline that you use, and rental car company that you use, and hotels that you stay at. Open up an account with them. If you stay with them even one time, open up an account with them. If you've flown with them one time, open up an account with them. Because even though you're only doing it this one time, or this is your first flight with them or whatever, a lot of, especially airlines, whenever you have a membership with them, and hotels as well, you can actually get cheaper deals on hotels and flights and things like that. So even though you've only taken one flight, even though you've only stayed at the hotel one time, you might not have enough points to get a free flight or to get a free hotel stay, but because you're a member of theirs, you will be able to oftentimes get a cheaper discount on a room, you know, through a member rate, or a cheaper discount on flights, because a lot of airline carriers, whenever they're having specials and deals like that, they will send emails out to their members about, hey, we have this going on, blah blah. So if you have ever flown, if you plan on flying, if you plan on staying at a place or anything else like that, open up the accounts with them. I have an account with every airline that I've ever been on. Some of them have no points. Some of them have like a couple hundred points from like one flight that I took. And then others of them, like American, I have like tens of thousands of points. It just, you know, because that's the one that I fly on the most. However, like, it's still, even the ones that I've used once or never used because I'm a member, I still will sometimes get emails about cheap flights and places to go and things like that, and money saving flights and hotel stays and everything. So definitely open up an account with every carrier, everything that you can. Just do that. And I mean, it's free. Why wouldn't you do free things? If we're trying to save money here, do everything that's free. Free's the best. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I know this video was a little bit longer, but I wanted to make sure that I gave you guys as much advice as possible and helped you as much as I possibly could with all of the advice that I know, because I think that this is very important, as I've said several times. So I want to help you guys to be able to travel and things like that. So thank you for watching this video. If you did like it, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. Hit that little bell next to the subscribe button so that way you're notified as soon as I make new videos. I make new travel related videos multiple times a week. I make product review videos multiple times a week, so please be sure to check those out as well. If you guys have any comments or questions on things, or anything else that you want to see, or anything else that you want maybe for me to elaborate more and go into or whatever, then please comment below and let me know. I can't do it unless you guys let me know, so that way I can know what you guys want to see more of, or if you guys have specific questions, and I will try to answer them or make videos about them as well. If you guys want to see more videos where I get into it and go over the different travel related or different ways to save money and travel ideas, then click the box here. If you guys want to see my product review videos where I review great travel gear for you to take with you, then click the box right here. And if you guys want to see my other travel related content or my unboxing videos, then click the boxes up here, and I'll see you guys around the world. Bye.